on. You want something for the foam to hang on to, because it'll slide around on you if you don't. You wrap it to as far back as the end of the body, which I usually try to make the end of the body right at the curve of the hook. And I love to use a lot of head cement when I'm working with foam, because usually if you're using a foam type of fly, you're fishing for people, or for fish that have teeth and they like to chew it up. And the next thing is cutting the foam so it'll go on there and create the body shape. Is how far I want the I'm going to cut it and then show you what it looks like. And the reason you want to do this is because you don't want to have too much bulk towards the front of the body, the rear part of the body. So this is what it's going to look like when you get ready to wrap it on. And you want to have glue on there so it sticks to the glue while you're wrapping. Okay, then you lay it on there so that the end of this foam is about halfway. And the reason you want to go a little further than where your thread is when you wrap it, you want the widest part to be wrapped in there, because that's what creates the roundness of the body. And you just kind of fold it over, make a light wrap, and then cinch it down. Okay, the next thing you put on is your chenille. And what I do is I like to put a little bit of head cement on the foam because I want the chenille to stay in place too. It's not going to go anywhere either. It's just going to stay there. Alright, so now you just start wrapping the chenille top over to the bottom and next to each other all the way to where your thread is.
It's only going to be a half a dozen wraps, huh?
It'll be probably 5 to 6. Okay, and once you get it to where you have your thread, then you do some locking wraps. One on one side, one on the other. And that'll lock that down so it won't come out. And then you trim it off without trimming your thread. Now the next thing we do is, that's putting the rubber legs on. And we want to put them on before we finish the body, because the foam ends up being in the way if you don't. So you turn it upside down. You need 3 or 2. Actually, you can put 2 on there if you have a hard time, or you can put 3. What I do is I do a crisscross and then one straight across. Next to where your chenille ends.
That's the first one, huh?
Yeah, and then you put one in the opposite direction and do your cross. But you want it like 1/8 of an inch. Once you get them to stay there, then you can lock them in. That round foam.
Round rubber.
Round rubber
Is that like
legs.
rubber baby buggy bumpers?
Yeah, rubber baby buggy bumpers.
That's pretty good now.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Anyway, you get the legs on there so they halfway look like they're sticking where they're supposed to.
Try that.
Doug, have you ever watched some of the pro tires try to do that?
You can't count.
Straight across.
Straight across, and then you kind of weave in around them to get them attached. Yeah. Make them. the first time that I ever did that the first time. Alright, so then you pull your foam forward, do a loose wrap and then two tight ones. Because that's the rear part of the body, and then the next thing you're going to do is the thorax, which is where the legs are. Okay, now once you got that, then if you can get all the legs back on their side they're supposed to be on, and hold it, then you go about half the distance between the legs, well, a quarter of the shank, because you have a half a shank left, a quarter of the shank, you do a loose wrap and then a tight wrap, a couple of tight wraps, and that then gives you your second part of your body. Okay, now what I like to do at this point, I trim the legs, because when I start making the head, I end up wrapping one of the legs into the head. So I come about, the back one's about 2/3 of the way the length of the body. And then the side one's almost even with them. And the front one's a little shorter. Now, I want to lock in my foam, so I do one on one side, one on the other, making sure I don't get my legs wrapped up in it. And then I cut the rest of the foam off, because you don't need the foam to make the head. Or if you do have a little foam left, we can incorporate it right into and you build up the head, because on a beetle their head is definitely visible.
So you wrap the foam down at the head?
No, I cut the foam off so that
In the midsection?
in the end of the midsection.
Nothing
Now,
for the head?
the one thing that I forgot to do, but you can still do it, is put in the strike indicator material. And usually when you want to put this in is when you're doing your first half of the body. But if you forget, you can always come back, bringing the thread underneath. You put this in, and it doesn't have to be exact as long as you get it in there. And you put a couple of wraps, trying not to get any of the legs tied up in them. And then bring your thread back up to the front and do the whip finish. Now, once you got that far done, then you can trim your strike indicator. And what I do is I like to have it about 1/8 of an inch on each side. And you can definitely see